Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Third Eye Awakening. Today, I'm really excited to have my friend Vanessa Jasper on to talk to us about her journey through spiritual and psychic awakening and her evolution along that path. Vanessa is a speaker, a yoga instructor, an energetic alignment coach, a liver transplant recipient, and an ex-hairstylist entrepreneur of 23 years. She's such a beautiful soul, and I have only just begun to scratch the surface in our friendship of like what, her whole story is. So I'm really, really excited to hear more about it today. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Amy, for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure, truly. So, Vanessa, will you tell us a little bit about who you are and what your spiritual awakening journey has been like for you? I met you through an Akashic reading last year, I guess, or was it a year and a half ago, I think now, and you were just on the verge of making a big leap. So I know you've been through some big transformations over the years. Would you share a little bit about it with us?
Yes, I would love to. Where do I begin? My goodness. Yes, I actually was looking at my emails, and I think we did our reading in September of 2019. Wow. I was getting ready to make a huge transition into my new career now as a life coach and yoga teacher. And at that time, I was still working in the salon. I was still the co-owner of a salon and still really scared to leave that career when I did my reading with you. And here I am, probably just over a year now. And here I am. Yeah, I did leave my career. And I took this leap of faith to enter this world of being a yoga instructor and a coach. And I survived. I survived, and I'm here to live to tell about it. And actually, I didn't just survive. I'm thriving. I'm thriving. It's been a really beautiful journey. So yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. I knew it would be because I got to tune into your Akashic records. Yeah. I knew it would be. But what made you want, because you were a hairstylist, you co-owned a salon with a friend and it had been really successful. And what had led you to want to make a move into being a yoga instructor and a coach? And really, to me, what it looks like is you also support people on their spiritual path.
Yes, absolutely. I consider myself a spiritual person. I've had a spiritual background since I was little, more in the form of religion. But I'm glad that I had that, because I think that it opened up my eyes to that world, And what led me to actually leaving my career was that my soul was calling me to a bigger purpose. And it's not that doing hair was something that I was not happy doing anymore. It was actually, as you said, very successful. My business was great. It just wasn't lighting my soul on fire anymore. And my soul was calling me towards becoming a yoga teacher and a coach, because I found yoga after receiving a liver transplant. And I know you read that as part of my bio, and that's a huge part of my story. 8 years ago, I received a second chance to live. And when you receive a second chance, when you go through such, people talk about shadow work, right? And they talk about, really facing those darker parts that we kind of want to hide away and tuck away and pretend don't exist. But, for me, I feel like a lot of the shadow work that I went through was during the time when I was on the waiting list to receive a transplant. I was very, very sick for 8 whole months. Eight months was the time of that I was on the transplant list, but my health was declining. And so when I received my liver transplant, well, during that time, there was a lot of depression, a lot of, it was just a really dark time. And then, I received my transplant and my whole aspect and perspective changed. And my whole aspect on life changed, my perspective. And I really wanted to help people. But before I could do that, I really had a lot of healing to do. And so during that time that I was on this journey of like with my health, I discovered yoga. And yoga really helped me on that self-discovery path to peel back the layers and discover spirituality in a way that I had never discovered it before, and in a way that I had never seen it before. And so when I started that path to yoga, I had no clue that it was going to lead me to where I am now. And so I would say that my liver transplant and finding yoga were the catalyst to the change and to where I am now.
Amazing. So it was like a layer of spiritual awakening, like not necessarily the first spiritual awakening you had, but it kind of cracked open the sort of outgrowing limiting beliefs that you had about yourself, and like a shell, and kind of started to reveal what was on the inside.
During that time when I was when I was on my transplant list.
Yeah.
The transplant list. Yeah. Yeah. During that time, I feel like I was still really trying to find my way. I really don't know. I feel like the awakening came more so after the transplant, but how would you specifically define awakening?
Oh, well, I always ask people this and nobody ever asked me. So this is cool. I guess for me, spiritual awakening is like, it's just when you start to awaken to this whole thing being more than you thought it was, and ourselves being more than we thought we were. And I don't know what that more is. Like, I mean, I'm still on the path. I don't think the path is ever ending, but just that there's more, that there's always a layer behind it, and then you get through that layer and there's another one behind it, and there's always a deeper layer.
Yeah. Yes, that reminds me. I love that you said that, because yes, so as growing up in a religious household, I always saw a source as outside of me. I always saw it as over there and I'm here. I saw God, if you will, as this being in on a cloud somewhere,
Right.
distant from me. And what I realized when I came to yoga was that I'm connected to God at all times, that there's a God within me at all times, and that I was never separate from that. And I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions, and one of the things that we are, not even a misconception, but a lie, that we all kind of at some point seem to feel like we've fallen, like that we're separate from source, and that we are all on this individual path, but really we're all one, and it's all this beautiful oneness. And so I really didn't discover that until I came to yoga. So yoga really awakened me in a way that expanded my spirituality and perspective of God and of me and of who I am. It was like that awakening of I am that I am, like, whoa. And that was and then so just going from there, like, and just peeling back the layers of all that I am, and knowing that that the more that I am who I am authentically and in my essence, and the more beautiful and the more pure, right, and the more just divine that we can shine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that so much. I feel like that's so much of what this whole human experience is about, is sort of like It's a perfect environment to sort of forget who we are and get really, really distracted by all of the sensory distractions and all of the relationships. And there's just so much information to take in all the time. And it creates a great opportunity to forget who we are so that we can then remember who we are, who we really are. And that's the real magic. It's the real prize, is like remembering who we really are and shining it, like you said, with all that pure, beautiful, divine authenticity, and how much of a ripple effect that creates on the whole rest of the world when we do that.
Yeah. And you never really know how much you're tied to the identities that this physical human body, we put so much value in the identities and the labels that we hold as humans. We're moms, we're entrepreneurs, we're sisters, we're wives, and so for me, coming home this past year and walking away from my beautiful career and my beautiful partnership with my best friend, in order to fully live in the purpose of where my soul was calling me to, was really challenging for me, because I really had to, and in the midst of COVID. So I really was like, okay, I'm starting a new career. Holy shit. What did I do? It's like the middle of a pandemic. I left this beautiful, successful career, and now I'm sitting deep in my shit. And I really have to figure it out. And all that kept coming up for me was more layers to uncover, right?
Yeah.
It was like more limiting beliefs. It was really sitting in the, well, you're not that anymore. So how are you going to make a living now? So it was really stripping all of that away. I feel like this entire year for me has been a year of letting go of all of the identities and all of the labels that I put so much stock in and so much value in, and just really, really knowing that the where the strength comes, where the power, where all of that is right here. It's within. It's me. It's me. I don't need anything else. It's right here. And so it's like really looking at those things and peeling that back and healing from all of the doubts that, you're not enough. That's a big one for me. And so that was one of the identities that I have really had to, I guess there's like a lot of awareness there, even though it still comes in, but I've built up a lot of awareness around it. And so, but that's been one of the things that I've, really been working through in this time that I've been processing all of it, processing my transition. In the transition, I should say.
Yeah.
It's like this whole transition period this year. Yeah.
Yeah. I would just like to honor that for a moment and just say to all the listeners who might be feeling like you are at the precipice of a career change or going into a business venture of your own, going off on your own with any of your services, I have come to determine that this is part and parcel with the process, is that like, holy shit, what have I done? How am I going to make money? Oh my God, panic, panic, panic. Yes. I went through it too. And I mean, and I think it also continues to evolve. Like anytime you up level, or it's always a confrontation of those identities. It's really all it is, right? Is those identities, like you said, that we build up about ourselves, of how we understand ourselves in the context of like our life and everything, and life in general, and the universe and how things work. And none of it is inherently objectively true, but it sure feels true. Whenever we challenge it, it's like, it's very challenging. It's very confronting. But yeah, I just wanted to just honor that for a second, that you shared that. For anybody who's listening who thinks you want to go off on your own, just be prepared. There is a period of absolute sheer panic, and it's fine. You'll get through it. It's fine.
Yes. I'm here to tell you, you will survive. Yeah. It's funny because you told me that, in our reading. You told me I would have a moment where I would be like, holy shit, what did I do? And I would probably have a breakdown and I would probably, cry. And all of those things did happen. And I thought of you when they were happening. And I'm like, oh, yes, she said this would happen. It's happening. And you know what? The crazy part about it is that it happened, but it was so cathartic and healing, to finally honor what I wanted for my life. Some of us stay stuck in that wishing and being afraid to actually go there.
Yeah, totally. I did for years. It was like such a big deal for me to become the person who's doing it as opposed to the person who's doing something else and spending all my time daydreaming about it. That was a huge identity shift. I definitely think that a lot of people get stuck there, but at the same time, I wasn't really stuck. It just was where I was until I was ready to move into doing,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But
Yes.
I do think, and I think a lot of people get stuck in doing what we think other people want us to do. And they may actually want us to do it, or we might just think they want us to do it. And I'm sure that was a really big challenge for you in navigating your partnership with your best friend, your business partnership, and choosing to honor yourself. But I'm sure it also was with your family too, and kind of trying to explain like this big change you'd undergone through the process of receiving your liver transplant and all the uncertainty when you didn't know when you were going to get it or even if you were going to get it, and then all the healing after. I'm sure you also had to navigate that with your interpersonal relationships, because there's no way that kind of experience can't change you. It totally has to change you. It's such a big pivotal experience, and I'm sure that the people in your life kind of were a little bit like, where, like, why have you changed? Or did anybody sort of expect you to just be the same person afterwards?
That the thing is that like I feel like I'm more myself now than ever, but I do feel like I've always been that more positive, smiley, kind of girl, so I don't really know that there was like a lot of change in the sense of who I was. It was more they were honoring and supporting the fact that they'd seen me be so sick and come to the point of like receiving a second chance at life and then recovering from that, and then now being like thriving, being healthy, doing yoga, being able to see me grow and actually regain my strength, was really like, and I'm thinking of people like my mom, my husband, my best friend, business partner, my kids. So they were actually more so really excited to see me go on and pursue my life and my dreams and the things that I want to do, while at the same time it was really hard for them to, for some people to understand how I could leave such a successful career and partnership to, for this leap of faith to become a yoga teacher and a coach. It's like it kind of goes from like, something more tangible to like, oh, a yoga teacher? Like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? Yeah.
And do you feel like they understood what you were doing? Like, did they understand coaching and that kind of stuff? Or were they sort of like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's a great question. That is a great question. No. And a lot of people still don't understand what I do now, including my parents. My parents, I love them and they're supportive in so many ways. But yeah, no, a lot of people, really don't. Like it's kind of taking some time for me to express and honestly, for me to really stand in what I'm doing, for me to really stand fully in my work, and knowing that it doesn't matter if they understand me or not or support me or not. And it's beautiful to have their support and their understanding, while at the same time I came to a place where I had to realize that not everyone's going to understand, and that's totally okay, because it's my path, right?
Yeah.
And it's not everybody else's. And so that has been a really difficult part for me though. I think is like really wanting that support, and not just like supporting me in saying that you support me, but really like understand what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it, specifically with my parents, but then also like letting go and just allowing space and time for them to come around, because maybe they're not ready, but I'm here to do what I know I'm here to do. And not really shying away from that, you know, and just really standing fully in that is where I'm coming to now.
Beautiful. And I'm curious, what was it about, or what is it about yoga that really led to this, like, you know, incredible sort of awakening experience for you and this healing experience for you?
So for me, yoga really, that first aspect was the part I spoke to a little bit earlier about really realizing that who I am is not separate from God and not separate from source and the divine, and that I am one with all. So that was the biggest thing. And I think through that was just like really, I think being able to sit in stillness, being able to actually, like, yoga taught me how to be able to get quiet and sit in stillness. And in that stillness is when I was able to reveal this whole universe that existed inside of me, that I really didn't realize existed inside of me before. So I think one big thing is that the stillness that yoga cultivates, and the presence that it cultivates is what really, like, that there's this whole inner being that I never really tapped into, that I never took time to sit down and actually just be with my breath. Actually sit down and actually recognize the thoughts that I was having, you know, and then just really bringing me into the present moment through the breath and through just being there in the moment of now. It just opened up an entire new world for me that I had never really experienced before. And because I did have a second chance, it's like a little bit of that was there because I did get a second chance at life. I do feel like I had a new meaning when I got that second chance. I feel like a little bit of that was awoken, like live fully, you know? So there was that piece, but then like it got deeper when I really learned how to be with my breath and be in the present moment of now.
Yeah.
Then I really felt like that brought things together for me, where I could really be present and enjoy my life fully in a way that I really didn't know how to before.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense to me. I'm really
Yeah.
appreciating the power of the present moment, like this moment, and realizing. So I always had this understanding of time. Well, not always, but like, I don't know, somewhere in my early 20s, I started to have this awareness of time that, like, okay, it's linear and like I experience it in a linear unfolding like everybody else does, but it's also not linear. And it's all like there's all these little wormholes and tunnels to connect with other periods in time. And but it was all very mental and cerebral. And it's really mostly only been in the last 5 years that I've really appreciated that, like, oh, it's all happening now. And like, but it's more than just a concept. It's like it's all now in this present moment right now, and all of our power is in this moment right now. None of our power is in the past, none of our power is in the future. It's all right now, and from right now we can connect with all these points in our past and our future, but we have to stay present in the moment. And the present moment is so full. It's so, like, it's mind-bogglingly full. We can never truly drink in the fullness of the present moment. And yet so many of us, like as you were talking about how prior to discovering yoga you'd never really given yourself, or probably just didn't realize to take the time to really sit and connect with, like, and feel your own heartbeat, and, you know, appreciate your own breath and witness your thoughts and all that. which is such a simple thing, and it's available to us at all times, no matter what circumstances we're experiencing. But I think that's like the common experience, is that we don't connect with that now moment and just the miraculousness of being a human in this present moment and having a heartbeat and breathing. It's such a miracle.
Yeah, and I think I had glimpses of that before I really knew, I think when you have really super, like as a mom, when your child is born, or when you're staring into your newborn's eyes and you're just like, you experience a part of life that there's nothing else but it. Like, it's like you're forced to come into the present moment when you're gazing into like the eyes of an infant, or when you've just birthed a child, or when you're looking into your spouse's eyes and you're exchanging vows. Like, there are moments in your life that you will be very present because they're just so beautiful. But like, it's so easy to get stuck and leak your energy on future and past thoughts, and you don't even realize you're there a lot, most of the day,
Totally.
And yeah, and just like recognizing that. I think it was The Untethered Heart for me, that book, The Untethered, I'm sorry, it's called The Untethered Soul. Highly recommend that book. Such a beautiful book. But The Untethered Soul really helped me to see that or maybe it was Eckhart Tolle, but both of those books are really good. The Power of Now also, but that life is only ever happening right now, and right now, and right now, and right now. And I'm just like, wow, it really is all about the right now, all the time, moment to moment.
Yeah, it really is. And like what you were saying about, giving birth or like looking at your newborn or, making eye contact with your beloved, those moments that really draw us into the present.
Yeah.
They're almost like intoxicating because they're so wonderful. And yet, like, if we don't understand that exists and is available to us at all times, then we project it onto these external experiences. Like, I have to have a newborn to look at, or I have to have a partner to connect with, or whatever thing, right? To feel that intoxication. But actually, it's just being super present in this moment right now. Like, every moment is full of that. I really believe that, having been through like some really terrible dark moments, that even in those periods of darkness, you can still find that it's there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that you said that so much, because yes, I find that even in the darkest of moments, that's why the present moment of now is such an incredible tool to come back to over and over and over and over and over again. Because it is in those dark moments that when you come to the present moment of now, nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
Truly nothing. Mm-hmm. Not even anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing and no one matters in that moment. And then you just like see how much of your time you spend worrying on things that are not even happening right now.
Totally. I just did that this morning when I was meditating. I caught myself and I was like, "Well, girl, actually you're safe right now. Actually, everything's fine. Like, there's food in the fridge. You're, in a warm house. Everything's okay."
Yes. Sometimes we can even be addicted to those thoughts that cause anxiety, because we get so used to, to being there, that when we are at peace, or when you are in meditation and you are in that restful place, something comes up and you're like, oh no, I didn't do this. Oh no, I'm scared all of a sudden. Yeah. And it was just like, and the crazy part is that it's a thought that induces.
I know. It's not even a thing that's currently happening. It's a thought.
Right.
I know human beings are, we're just magnificent creatures of complexity and beauty and miraculousness. And I think my theory is that we're all driving these cars. These cars are more power, these vehicles or whatever, of our bodies and our lives. And they're so much more powerful than we realize, but we don't know how to drive them. And like most people don't know how to drive them. And so we just don't even know what's available to us. And we don't know how to like really make the most of it because we get thrown completely into like panic central by a thought, and we're reacting to it like it's real. And I think people get addicted to the anxiety too, because there's this feeling of like, because everybody's afraid of the unknown, of just like not knowing when the other shoe is going to drop, not knowing when we're going to die, not knowing what's coming up ahead, and wanting to like protect ourselves and predict it. But like really, whenever we sort of allow ourselves to get into those patterns of anxiety addiction, I think what it just does is like, you know, you get anxious and then you create an action plan and then you feel better because you've like, you know, like you've done something that makes you think you're controlling the future, but you're never, you can only react to your circumstances from the now moment. You can never, ever, ever like control for the future, ever.
Yes, that's so true. Yes. It's like you're like, you know, you feel like if you're worrying that you're actually being responsible in some way.
Yes, exactly. You're being really practical and grounded by like going into a flight of panic fancy about a thing that's not happening and creating a sensible action plan to deal with this thing that's not happening.
Exactly. It's a responsible thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good use of our time for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're very practical and down to earth when we do that.
Yes, for sure.
Oh my goodness, human beings. And so I would love to chat a little bit about how your experience going through that darkness of being sick before you got your transplant. And I'm sure after too, I'm sure even like, it wasn't like an instantaneous, like, well, I'm all better, carrying on as if nothing. Like, I'm sure it was very traumatic. And just how that sort of like set you up to navigate all of the uncertainty of 2020, first of all, but also start like doing a career change and starting a whole new business in 2020. Do you feel like it sort of prepared you in a way, or you were able to draw on that experience to navigate all of the uncertainty and everything?
Yeah, I definitely feel like all of my experiences up until now have certainly contributed to where I am now. And during that time that I was sick, I knew that there wasn't a lot that I could do physically. So I feel like that now I have a deep appreciation for a healthy body. And, you know, so because I couldn't do so much when I was sick, that now that I'm healthy, I really, really, really appreciate and I'm in deep gratitude for that. So I feel like that's helpful. And then also as far as like my kids and my husband, when I was sick, it was a really challenging time for my immediate family, my kids and my husband specifically. And so now, you know, 8 years later, because it has been 8 years since I had my transplant. So it has been some time. And I feel that now my family, my kids are who they are, partly because of that experience, you know, who they are now. And so I feel like it's all now coming to this beautiful, like it's all now coming to fruition. For example, yoga, right after I had my transplant, when it came into my life, yoga was very new for me and for my family, and my kids maybe used to see it as something that took me away from them rather than something that was helping me. And so I feel like now my family is beginning to really accept yoga as a way of life and all of its aspects, you know, living in the present moment, breathing, you know, my kids are like, it's beginning to bleed into the family. So now I feel like it's this beautiful culmination that we've just all been like growing during this time. So now during COVID, yeah, I do feel like going through all of those hardships, has really brought us closer together as a family unit during this time. Yeah. And my husband and my kids are really supportive, and maybe they are more supportive because they've seen my journey, but we're all really supportive of each other. Like, yeah, we're just all really grateful, I think, honestly, during this time.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of gratitude.
And do you feel like it's been challenging? Well, I mean, it has been challenging, of course, but like in watching the world and all the turbulence and uncertainty in the world and feeling the vibrations of, different levels of fear being activated and all those like really intense survival emotions being activated in people, especially because I know you're in the US. So on the ground level in the US, I know not everywhere, but certain places has been very turbulent. Do you feel like your own visit to the darkness and back has sort of allowed you to like feel more anchored in yourself too, as you kind of like witness, like, have you been able to hold space for the collective in a different way than you would have if you had never been through that on your own?
Absolutely. Yeah, I for sure think that there's a lot more empathy there. There's, because I have been there. Yeah. It's kind of feeling into your question. There was something you said. You said that my darkness when I was going through it, that if that's helped with the fear now of COVID.
Of COVID, and also like, I mean, everything. There's just been so much going on. It's like COVID, and then like, really intense surface level race tensions and political divides. And like, there's just been so much chaos and turmoil and so many fears and sense of disempowerment being activated in the collective this year. And sometimes I think that everybody who's been through an intense period of darkness in their own lives leading up to this has sort of come through on the other side being really well equipped to sort of weather this year without being as battered around by the winds of fear as other people.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Yes, for sure. And I think that's part of what I was saying earlier, that I do feel like I did before I even knew what shadow work was. I feel like going through that dark period of time when I was on the waiting list really did help to anchor me more now, because I feel like I've been doing a lot of the shadow work for the past 8 years, truly. And so I feel like that has helped me build up my resilience. Yes, for sure. Now that I say that, yes, resilience.
Yeah, resilience is
a lot of resilience. Yeah. So yes, Amy, I've built up a lot of resilience, and I think that was the part of what I was saying about like my family too. I think that they have too as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So right. Like this time, yeah. So like this time, yeah, we're feeling it for sure. But because we've been in dark places as a family, and they were so much younger then, now we're kind of learning to navigate a little more skillfully.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a really beautiful place, because I even see my kids evolving. One of my daughter's quote unquote resolutions for, this year, because we were talking to our kids about, kind of what they were envisioning for their year. And my daughter was like, Mom, I need to get more woke.
That's adorable. How old is she?
16.
That's my resolution, Mom. In 2021, I'm going to get more woke.
Yes. And so it's been really beautiful, because the other day, I was just telling her, woke is awareness, Aaliyah. It's being aware of your behavior, your just the way that you be out in the world, right? There's a lot of awareness that comes to being woke, so now as a mom, I'm like, well, that wasn't very woke of you, using it, wherever I can as leverage.
She gave you a great tool there.
Right, yeah, exactly. No, but I love it. I really do feel like my kids are evolving and that all of the work that I've been doing on myself, that they've been witnessing and being a part of, is just coming together. It's
Yeah.
coming together. Yeah.
Yay. It's such a nice feeling after because it's such a process to go through any kind of like health scare or any kind of trauma that really shakes up your identity and your life and full of uncertainty. And it's such a process to come out of it. And what a beautiful thing to sort of be at the place where you're really starting to reap the fruits of that experience, and to be able to do it with your family and just feel like everybody's come through it well and on the other side. And yeah.
Yeah. And I do have to say that I just thought of something. So, being a transplant recipient, you're immunocompromised.
Yeah.
Immune system is suppressed due to the medication that you have to take every day so that your body doesn't reject your new organ.
Mm-hmm.
And so although it's been 8 years for me, I will be on these meds for the rest of my life. And so when this first hit, there was a moment of panic in some instances where I really had to tune in and just breathe and allow the fear not to fully take over, because that is scary for me, having a compromised immune system and having kids that go to school. And so for me, the practice has been providing a balanced lifestyle for my family where I'm not the center of attention or focus or the reason why we can't do this or that, and so that's been challenging navigating through this with this pandemic, because my kids are teenagers and they do love to be social. And I know how important it is for them to have a social life. So balance has really just been, I think, the key during all of this, because I feel like I could be a lot more strict about who they surround themselves with, or not letting them do this or that, and even myself. Mm-hmm. But what I have found, because I'm a yoga teacher, so I work at a yoga studio and we take the precautions, COVID precautions to keep everyone safe, but I'm still in the public. And I assist with yoga teacher training because I'm an instructor, a co-instructor. So I am around other people. And what I have decided is that what makes me happy is to be serving, is to be around others in a safe way, obviously. Mm-hmm. I'm not like cavalier or crazy or like unsafe, like I'm taking precaution. But I feel like my happiness boosts my immune system. And that if I were at home trying to control everyone and making everyone stay home and living in a bubble, that I would actually be miserable. And so would my family. So it's really taken just like some balance, a lot of like surrender and just faith. Yeah, just not letting the fear, just not allowing the fear to completely to control my life has been the practice during COVID, providing balance. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that as it came to your mind. I think that's such an important thing to hear. So I feel the same way, but it's easier for me because I'm not immune compromised. I mean, I have an autoimmune condition, but I don't feel like I'm immune compromised. But I have a friend who, had a major surgery and really aggressive cancer survivor that she was diagnosed 3 years ago, who's been through the whole treatment. And I think sometimes about if my son had lived, he would be very immune compromised, and like how much of a difference that makes in people's lives. But it's also been my sort of quiet, private observation that I've maybe shared here and there that there's so much. I mean, the end of the road, the end result for all human beings is death. It just is. And so we have to make our peace with it. It's not the great enemy. It is the great inevitability. It's the return to the mystery and the void. And we can live in fear of it every day of our lives, especially during times like these. And yet we still can't avoid it. So we still don't know when it's coming. We have no idea. We can't control for it. And yet we're still alive. It comes back to that present moment thing. It's like the surrender you spoke about, of surrendering to the present and all the joy that it's available to us in the present moment, and choosing to give our attention to that. And also sit with that fear and that vulnerability, because we also can't say like, oh, poo poo, get over your fear of death, right? Like we also do have a fear of death and a fear of illness and that kind of stuff that is very valid. So I love that you said those words of balance and surrender, of like really embracing the things that bring you joy in life and the things that you know are important, but at the same time, not being cavalier about your vulnerability with your health, and yet surrendering to not being able to control for things and just choosing joy.
Yeah, it's that, choosing fear or love in everything that you're doing. Your choices are either leading from a place of fear or love. And so and even just asking yourself that question, is this decision, or is this adding to the fear pile, or is this adding to the love pile? And that's been really helpful for me during this time, is just really recognizing that I'm not functioning off of control based off of, that it's because I can't, because I'm afraid, because I'm in fear mode, that I want to control me and my family and the circumstances. And I know that's just it's not possible. Yeah. I'll drive myself crazy if I do that.
Yeah. And then totally drive yourself crazy and also still not be able to guarantee anything. That's the hard part that I feel like is the bitterest pill to swallow, but it just is what it is. Like, with just all of our worry, all of our, trying to like micromanage every variable is all in vain, because there are variables we can't even imagine.
Totally. I mean, the next second is uncertain. The funny thing about uncertainty is we're so afraid of uncertainty, yet every single day our life is uncertain. Every minute of every moment is uncertain.
Yeah. And pain is born out of uncertainty, certainly, like painful experiences, but beautiful experiences are born out of uncertainty. Like suddenly, like we're not eternally pregnant. Like, say if somebody's wanting to conceive, you're not just eternally pregnant. You're just one moment you're pregnant, and then, or one moment you're not pregnant and the next moment you're pregnant. That comes out of uncertainty. Or one moment you don't have, anything booked in your business, and the next minute you have a painful client. That comes out of uncertainty, or like any of those things, or meeting the love of our life or whatever. And so it's just like accepting the joyful experiences and the painful experiences as all the in-betweens, and enjoying the ride.
And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it, right? It's like, I was just, as you were talking, thinking about, when I found my perfect match, my mom, what a beautiful miracle. And like you said, from this 8-month journey of uncertainty to this beautiful, perfect miracle and match. And it just blows my mind, just even to think back to that. I often look at that time of my life as like I was an actor in a movie playing like myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know, like I was just trying to survive every day, but the beauty that came out of that. And I don't know, I'm just thinking about butterflies and just just that rebirthing process, and just like how beautiful it is. And funny enough, side note, my name means butterfly.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And I had a rebirth experience during my life. So maybe.
Yeah. Butterfly is like one of your totems, your energy totems. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Rebirth. Yes.
I love that.
Yes. But yes, beautiful things are born out of uncertainty. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, this has been such a wonderful conversation, Vanessa. Will you tell the listeners what kind of services you're offering and how they can connect with you?
Yes. I am a yoga teacher, so I teach at a local yoga studio, but I do one-on-one yoga private sessions. I do yoga therapy sessions. So if you're familiar with yoga therapy, it's just basically moving stagnant energy from the body that in a way that is in a very, very supportive setting where you don't have to relive your trauma. It's a very therapeutic modality to use. It's just really, really, really beautiful to release a lot of old traumas and emotional baggage, really. Mm-hmm. And then, so a lot within that therapeutic realm, and then do one-on-one coaching. And yes, I'm an energetic alignment coach. So essentially, I just help people come back home to themselves, align with themselves through mind, body, spirit, really find their unique blueprint and help them function from that place. Because I find that with me, the more that I work peeling those layers back, and the more that I heal my past and my emotional baggage, the more that I am in alignment with myself. And the better that I feel physically. Like I literally feel physically so much better, and I'm like healthier than, I just feel really amazing. Like I feel really healthy. So help people come back home to themselves through using, energetic pieces like yoga, breathing, journaling, mindfulness. I think just all of it in this beautiful melting pot of goodness. Yeah.
Amazing. And I'm sure you picked this up, beautiful listeners, but Vanessa is such a lovely, genuine soul. So if you feel connected to her, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm including her information in the show notes as always. So Instagram, Facebook group connection, so that you can find her because she's so lovely. Thank you so much for being here, Vanessa. Thank you for sharing this conversation. I feel like it was extremely nourishing and extremely grounding.
I loved it every moment. Thank you so much, Amy. So happy to have been here.
And thank you so much, listeners, for your time and your attention in this episode. And if you enjoyed it, please screenshot yourself listening and tag Vanessa and I on your favorite social media. It will make our hearts so happy. And I hope you have a beautiful day or night wherever you are. Catch you on the next episode. Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. I appreciate you more than my words could ever say. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you on the next episode.